Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to have a look at layering audio, building up multiple sound effects, ambient sound and music to make our game world feel more alive and more immersive. In this scenario, I'm working in my Tutorial Springs hub and I'm going to be looking at a couple of things. One is transitioning to the outside space from the inside space and how audio can shift that dynamic and make that more interesting, making this outside space feel more like it's a realistic outside space, more immersive. I'm going to be looking at some passive sound effects and also some active sound effects. So passive sound effects are things where you're not interacting with anything, but you just can hear things going on in the environment. And active sound effects is when you're actually doing something, you're interacting with something, and you're getting some kind of audible feedback. Now for this tutorial, you don't need any coding experience. You can do the whole thing in basic mode if you like. There's not going to be any scripting. It's really focusing on how audio can bring your game to life. So to start with, let's look at this inside to outside kind of transition. Now, a really cool tip that Matt shared with me, who's the audio guy at Unit 2, is to contrast audio amongst your game. So having a quiet area and a loud area and having that contrast between the two can really help to make your game tell a story and feel a little bit more dynamic. So in my lobby, it's fairly quiet. I might want to add a little bit of lobby music or something like that. But when I move to the outside, it really should be the sounds of what this kind of outside world would feel like. And to achieve that, we really need to use layers in audio. So let's get started. Let's have a look at what we can add to the lobby to start with. I'm going to navigate to my sounds tab and I'm just going to try and find the Leisure Trousers Jazz, which is that classic sort of bossa nova kind of jazz. I'm going to add that into my lobby. I'm actually going to add it back here somewhere. Something like that. And I want it to fade out as I walk towards the outside. It should feel like it's coming from the hotel somewhere. I might drop the volume down a bit as well so that it won't affect how much it fades out, but it will affect the general volume. And this should be a quiet indoor space. I'm just moving the camera around, which is a useful thing to do. Or you can, if you're in basic mode, you can just kind of walk around. We just want to listen to that music. So another way we can test that is if we press F5 or test the game. You can just about hear that jazz. And as I move towards the door here, it gets quieter and quieter as I move away from the source of the sound. Now something I might do is if I turn off 3D, it will mean that it plays in both headphones simultaneously, but it will still have that range where if I'm moving away from it, it will go quieter. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to drop that volume right down now. So let's give that a test. So it sounds like it's coming now from around me somewhere, and it still gets quieter as I move towards the outside. So that has added something already to my game lobby. I think the next most important thing is to make this outside feel like it's outside by using layers of audio. So over here, somewhere in the middle of this world, so around here, I'm going to start to add a few sort of nature sound effects to start with. So some ambient sound. Let's type in ambient. And some of the things I might want is, it's not there. Maybe like jungle ambience. Nighttime insects jungle ambience. Jungle ambience. As it's sunset, I feel like it would be between these two, so I'm going to actually use both of them. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying we're layering up our audio. So I'll place that one there. That was my nighttime insects. I'm just going to unparent it, and my jungle ambience there as well. Unparent that one. I'm unparenting them so that I can get hold of them easily. Now they exist here. So what I want to happen is when I transition through this doorway, I want to start to hear the sounds of nature in my game world. And so both of these should afford me that experience. But at the moment that I'm outside the range, you can see the range of, where it's absolute, you will not hear it past this outside line. And inside this inside line, this inside sphere here, this is where it's maximum volume. So between there and there, it kind of drops off in volume. And I want this outside line to be somewhere around just when I'm approaching the door, somewhere around there. So I'm just going to change this. We can change these two spheres, what the range min and the range max these are, just using this range min and range fall off box over here. So let's get started. So let's do that. I'm going to change the range min to be much larger. Let's do 3700. So this is where it'll be full volume. So when we're outside, wherever you are outside, it should be full volume. And let's fade it in a little bit. So let's have this fall off. So the fall off should be somewhere around halfway. So as I'm approaching the doors, I should start to hear them more. I'm going to turn off 3D. It's not coming from that exact point. It's sort of coming from around there. There we go. And now let's do the other layer. So we have this kind of insect sound, which is very typical, would make me feel of a warm place. It would make me feel of some kind of jungly, tropical kind of place. And we've got this jungle ambience, which is got some more birdy kind of sounds in there, so kind of brings another layer to this. I can't hear it at the moment, so let's do the same thing. Let's change that range min to around 3700, range fall off to 1500, which will mean it starts there and then gets louder to the maximum here. So it doesn't have those sort of nighttime cicadas. It's got more like the birds, but as we're at sunset, that kind of works. And then the both of those together should, coupled with the music that we're leaving behind us, those three layers, we've got music and two different ambient layers, should bring our game world to life a little bit more. Let's try it out. So already that's starting to make it feel a little bit more alive. Now, onto passive sound effects. So you can see a couple of things immediately here that really should have sound, because then it feels very unrealistic and very flat without it. So we've got this fire in front of us here, and we've got that plane that zooms backwards and forwards across the sky. So let's start with that fire. I'm just going to add some kind of passive sound effect that's looping to that fire so that we can kind of hear it as we go past it. So here I'm going to look for a fire sound. Just a small fire sound, fire small loop. It's useful to know that if it's got loop in the name, it means the sound will play continuously. So this small fire looping sound should play continuously. I'm just going to click on that, and then I'm going to add it to this fire. Now again, let's just modify the range a little bit. I want to make sure I can hear it from here, but I don't need to hear it all the way back here. So I'm just going to drop the fall off a little bit. Something like that. And then the other sound was the plane. Let me search for the plane here. So we've got this prop plane here. And I've actually added a sound to this already. If I go over to it, double click on that to go straight there. I've got this sound I've already added to it. Which I'm just using a car engine because I quite like that one, and it loops nicely as well. Notice it's got loop in the name. And what I've done is I've also installed Adamo's Doppler Sound package. So if I search in the community for Doppler, there's Adamo's Doppler Sound Effect, which is an amazing package that essentially gives sounds that kind of frequency shift. As a sound moves towards you, there's a kind of perceptual thing that happens where sound frequency changes as it approaches you and as it moves away. So when something is moving towards you at speed, the sound actually goes up in pitch. When it's moving away from you at speed, the pitch goes down. It's a weird thing, but it happens. So I've attached a Doppler Sound script to this. So I installed Adam's Doppler Sound package, and then with this sound selected, I went Entity, Add Script, and then I found Adamo's Doppler Sound script, and I've just adjusted it to be the double pitch is 250. For the plane sound, because the plane is far away but it's loud, I've increased the volume to 1.5, and the range min is a whopping 7,500 with the range fall off a huge 16,500. So let's just click on something else so that it's not playing that sound anymore. And let's go and listen to what that sounds like now that we've got the plane and the fire, both with their passive sound effects, hopefully bringing our game world to life a little bit more. So having that audio moving really adds something. We've also got this fire that as I walk past, I can hear the fire crackling and doesn't linger. Another thing is these passive sound effects that your character will automatically make when you're walking around or you're in the water. I might actually drop the volume of that plane a little bit. Don't want it to interrupt the calm and delightful atmosphere that I'm trying to build in Tutorial Springs. So that's some passive sound effects. Let's just drop that plane sound effect down a little bit. Let's put it down to 1. Okay, so I feel like we can also add some more music to this. Let's just go and have a look. So I've added some speakers here to my hotel so that I can add some music. There. So what I'm going to add is a little bit of music just to draw my players' attention as they exit this building here. They're going to be presented with a lot of options, and I kind of want them to immediately want to go over here and see that sunset. So I want to pull them over there, and I'm going to do that using audio, so they'll be able to hear the audio. Yeah, they'll be able to hear as they leave the building. The sound should pull them over here. So it needs to be a 3D sound. If it's in both ears, if it doesn't have that 3D box tick, then it could be anywhere. So, and the one I'm going to use is my Hang-In High 5. Personal favourite music. So I'm going to add that to this speaker. And I'm just going to see whether I can hear it at the right places. So as you can see, like, we're going to be listening to our jazz and approaching the outside. The nighttime insects will also be coming in. And just as I reach this doorway, I can definitely hear in my right ear a sound pulling me over there. Let's just see what the mix is like with all of the other sounds that are going on with the sound effects and with the ambient sounds. Okay, so that's working quite nicely, pulling me over in this direction. Adding a little bit of music can really help to set the tone of the game and give your players evoke a kind of feeling or an emotion. Very, very powerful. You can, like me, you can make it so that it's appropriate to the setting, or you can really go to town with playing with music as like a way of indicating that something has happened, or rather than representing a place, it could be representing a feeling, it could be representing an action, or a change in game dynamic, which I'm looking to do another tutorial on in the future. So finally, let's take a look at making some active sound effects. So when you interact with something, getting that kind of audible feedback is really important, as well as the visual feedback of what you're doing, changing or editing or whatever the player is, whatever the action the player has done. Let's look at how adding audio to that can really bring it to life. So if I interact with this menu, I get served a drink. And at the moment it just pops and arrives. There's no sound effect. It doesn't pop. It just doesn't make a sound. It just arrives. And so I feel like the process of making a drink and arriving in front of me and also paying and all of that stuff, rather than animating it all or writing a wall of text that says this is what's happened, let's use audio to tell that story of money changing hands, the drink being made, and handed to me. So we're going to do that using audio. I've actually made a package for this part so that if you're not scripting, you can do this. So the package I have made is called Play Multiple Sounds. You can find it there. And it essentially means that we can layer up multiple sounds on and play them just with one event call. So let's look at how we do that. So find that package and then install it. And then for me, I'm just going to click on this menu. And at the moment, it just calls this script, which spawns a drink in front of the player. And I'm going to add my play multi-sound script. So entity add script, play multi-sound. And here's my multi-sound script. The sounds I'm going to add to this. Now, let's have a look at what sounds we might want to add. So sometimes we might want to use sounds that are exactly representing what's going on. So for example, my drink, I think it had a slice of lime or something in it. So we might want to do like a knife swish sound of the slice of lime. What other sounds might happen when someone's making a drink or we're buying something or changing, money's changing hands, something like that. So if I type buy, something like that, that sounds like I'm buying something. It's kind of an abstract sound that represents buying something, but that's cool. I can add that. What other sounds might, the actual handing the drink over. So deal card. It's not exactly right, but it gives the intention. It kind of tells a part of the story. Other sound I might play more like representing the mood of receiving that. So maybe a guitar chord like F major 7. That's quite a nice sound when you're looking out at the sunset. Let's add that one as well. Okay, so there's my sounds, and I'm going to add this play multi-sound event to my onInteract function. So at the moment, it's just spawning that drink. Let's add another binding. Click plus new binding. I'm still on this diner menu here. I'm going to use the diner menu. So I just dragged and dropped that, or you can find it by navigating your world tree there. The script I'm after is the play multi-sound, and I'm just going to play. I'm going to play all of the sounds all at once, and let's see what happens. So there's my jazz, nighttime insects, jungle sounds, the plane going overhead, the fire, bit of music, swim over here, interact with the menu. So lots of sounds all happening at once. Sounds a bit messy, but the chord really lingers quite nicely, and I think that should be the last sound, and it just sort of lifts the mood a little bit. So we've got 4 sounds. Now in this play multi-sound package, I've done this stagger delay, which essentially means we can time these, so we can add a little bit of delay in between each sound. And I'm just going to keep it simple for now. I'm just going to keep all of the delays 0.3 between each sound. So 1 to 2, that delay is this first one. 2 to 3, that delay is this second one. 3 to 4, that delay is this third one. And I don't actually need this one, so I'm going to delete that element. So just 3 of those. And let's see what happens now that I'm waiting 0.3 seconds between each sound. So I'm still layering up audio because they're going to slightly overlap each other. And I'm just using multiple bits of audio to kind of tell the story of ordering a drink. So that sounds a lot nicer, a little bit more satisfying as a player to order that. And the last thing I think I want to do is make it so the drink appears at the end of that, so that we have the sounds of the drink being made, and then it appears. So back to my diner menu. I'm going to, instead of ordering the drink on interact, I'm going to delete that binding. I'm going to instead use the on play complete event, which is an event that is called when all of the sounds have started playing. And I'm just going to drag my diner menu, select bar script, and order drink. So let's go and have a look at what that feels like. Have a listen to what that feels like. Have a look, have a listen. Use all of your senses in your game. Here we go. Let's order a drink. Nice. That feels good. So I've made it so you can drink the drink. And then it gets cleared away nicely. Yeah, feels good. I think that's right. The fourth delay, stagger delay, that I could do could stagger that the arrival of that drink, because it's a delay that's occurring after each sound. But I think it works quite nicely as it is. Again, that sound of me taking a drink, I don't need an actual sound of a slurp or a straw or anything like that. You can use a little bit of music to kind of evoke the sensation, rather than being quite so literal with the sound. And that's kind of the end of this tutorial. Hopefully you found that useful and helpful. It's a really great thing to layer up different audio, using ambient audio, music, passive sound effects, and remembering our active sound effects as well. Mixing it nicely together so that things are drawing you to different locations, and using the ranges, the 3D or 2D kind of sounds. Macro and micro, so making sounds that like exist in a really small space like this one, and also ones that exist in a really big place like the plane that kind of overtake everything. So that's my tutorial on layering up audio. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the Discord if there's anything you would like to add to that, or any suggestions you might have, or any improvements for my tutorials in general. If you get stuck, head over to the Discord. It's discord.gg/Crayta. There's plenty of people in the community who are always happy and willing to help out. And I really look forward to hearing your games in Crayta.